If I had a remembrance book, I would surely write about the day we came to Plum Creek.
Welcome back to the Prairie, folks. I just went on a complete Little House on the Prairie binge, and I couldn't be happier. Just a few episodes, Nick. Well, maybe I got a bit carried away, but hey, I regret none of it. I mean, this show is as perfect as it once was. It was comfort food for many of us growing up. It really struck that perfect balance of drama and whimsy, all tied up in some good life lessons. Now, Little House ran just a bit over 200 episodes, and I can safely say that in a sea of solid quality, there are some that really managed to stand out.
Oh, Mary.
But what do all these incredible episodes have in common that make them so uniquely special? Welcome to Do You Remember? I'll be your host, Nostalgic Nick, your tour guide down memory lane and a proud TV junkie since childhood. Let's recap 15 of the most unforgettable Little House on the Prairie episodes. I truly hope it brings back as many fond memories for you as it did for me. We had a ton of fun putting this one together, and I know you're gonna enjoy it. Now it's time to load up our wagons and head back to Walnut Grove. A Harvest of Friends, 1-1. Aired September 11th, 1974. Here we go, folks. The premiere. The stakes are never higher than when you just start off. And boy, did Little House just nail its intro. And in episode 1, A Harvest of Friends, Charles Engles goes looking for extra work after getting caught up in some money issues.
I'll see you then.
Right.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Boy, if he only knew how relatable that would still be. But all these plans come crashing down when he gets hurt. So what happens when this strong, reliable rock of the family stumbles? After all, when you're hurt, you can't work. And Nels Olson is right there to make matters even worse. It's getting really grim really fast for Pa. Well, we start off with some good community lessons. He gets help from the people around him. The business owners helped him out so much because they saw a good, hardworking man and wouldn't let anyone walk all over him, even Nasty Nels.
I hope you can use these. Now come on, it's just a little added thanks for your help this morning.
Like I said, it's important to nail that first episode. And yeah, technically we got a taste of Walnut Grove with the pilot film. But the show's asking us to stick with the cast for a very long time. They still gotta convince us what they're selling. And honestly, the show did that so well. This first episode let us meet all the key players, their personalities, where we expect to find the trouble, and one of the best lessons in any show. We can all help each other. You put good into the world, and it'll come back to you.
We've all been in the house 100 times.
But not today. Today's special.
Maybe I shouldn't set the bar so high so early on, but I can't imagine giving this episode anything less than 10 stars for showing us the heart of a truly great show. The Lord is My Shepherd, 113-14. Aired December 18th, 1974. So one thing we learned pretty quickly is that while Little House is definitely a family show, it's also not afraid to tackle some pretty heavy stuff. And I mean heavy.
I think you're expecting a larger baby than I can deliver.
Case in point, Season 1, Episode 13, The Lord is My Shepherd. When the Engles happily welcome newborn baby Charles Frederick into the world, well, Laura quickly gets jealous at how much attention the new kiddo receives. Yep, such a universal problem. She was so jealous that when it comes time to pray for the baby's good health, she doesn't. And then, just like that, how it happens for everyone, all that jealousy turns to guilt, and she asks God to let her switch places in heaven, until a kind and maybe divine stranger helps her out. Whew, like I said, heavy stuff. It starts off on a relatable note, a kid getting jealous of the new baby, but wow, it quickly gets dialed up to like 100. This episode has it all. I love Jonathan, played by the excellent Ernest Borgnine. And I love that he's kind of ambiguous. Is he an actual angel, or just a stranger who happened to find her at just the right time? Or is it a stranger sent by something more? Exactly, I don't know. But what I do know is this two-parter in Little House is what the show is at its best, and easily earns 9 stars from me.
Why did you do it?
I thought you needed Charles more than me.
Ebenezer Sprague 2-3. Aired November 19th, 1975. What would any show be without a holiday episode or 2? Or 10? What can I say? I'm a bit festive. Well, Little House took on the Dickens classic A Christmas Carol, featuring a miserly banker putting a stop to Walnut Grove's most generous projects. Leave it to Laura to befriend him. You know what they say, no good deed goes unpunished. But maybe this mess of a friendship can make Sprague's heart thaw just a bit.
Farm 40 more acres.
Where are you going to get 40 more acres?
Gonna buy them.
So I'll admit it, I do have a soft spot for holiday-themed episodes, and Little House is a great match for this kind of thing. Because Ebenezer Sprague, this episode, it's a sweet, feel-good one that shows us a bit of kindness goes a really long way. But more importantly, I think it shows that just one person can change our lives. And if anyone can warm Mr. Sprague's icy heart, of course it's Laura.
A 20-foot waterfall.
Oh my goodness.
And her kind heart nets this episode 9 stars and a platter of cookies. The Talking Machine 2-13. Aired January 14th, 1976. When Nellie Olson lives up to her nickname and sets her sights on the same boy as Laura, Half Pint still wins over Jason. So, Nasty Nellie lives up to her nickname and uses her confounded talking machine to embarrass her sworn enemy.
I told you I had a talking machine, and you didn't pay any mind to me.
Because Laura was daring to invite her crush over for dinner. Gotta be honest, picking an episode with Nellie is kinda hard, because even watching it as a kid, I'd get so angry at how unfair she'd be. But this episode still manages to get in plenty of humor, and it nails what it's like to have a crush and scrambling to figure those emotions out. And maybe it's that I'm older now, but I think this episode just gets better and better with time. It's a treat seeing everyone react to technology, because now we're so immersed in it. And at the time when I saw this as a kid, it was definitely something that I wanted to see more of. Heck, even today with smartphones, I still want one of those talking machines for my home. And so I give this episode 8 out of 10 stars. Bunny 3-2. Aired October 4th, 1976. Probably the most nerve-wracking episode ever. Season 3, Episode 2, Bunny. We see Laura's beloved horse become Nellie's, and that little monster is as nasty as ever. While we grit our teeth through Nellie's horrible deeds, Laura tries to protect Bunny and get justice for her thirsty steed when the adults are ready to put the thing down for good. I mean, if you saw this one as a kid, you certainly remember it. You do not go for the family pets. 0 out of 10 stars, next episode. Alright, that's not fair, not really, but this is a really tough one even today. But it is really good TV. It really has it all. Childhood rivalries, the sweet bond between human and animal, Laura and Bunny, insanely high stakes, and sweet, sweet justice, of course. I'm not afraid to admit that I gave my dog a huge hug and belly rub after this. Yeah, I know, different animal, but they're family after all. And so this episode gets a hard watch 8 stars for a really solid plot line and a healthy dose of everything great about Little House. The Wisdom of Solomon 3-18. Aired March 7th, 1977. Now episode 18 of season 3 also handles some really heavy but important subject matter. We meet 11-year-old Solomon Henry, who's fed up with being treated so terribly because he's black.
Gotcha!
Along with the ghost of his dad's untimely fate hanging over him, he finds his way to the Engles and gets a taste of all the norms he should have access to his entire time, like an education.
The teacher asked a question and I just answered it.
This is definitely one of Little House's most thought-provoking episodes, and they don't shy away from the sensitive topics. But we get to see so much growth from all our favorites. The context makes it all the more powerful, over 2 decades since the end of the Civil War. Plus, we get a dynamite guest performance by Todd Bridges. I mean, he is a force to be reckoned with in this episode, bringing to life a young man who's prepared to do anything for his turn at the American dream. It's real, it's tough, it's daring, and it's emotional.
Till I got life, ate everything feel awful low and quiet.
The Wisdom of Solomon is an episode that stands out for its emotional weight, and it gets viewers thinking about what freedom really means. Would you call this ending happy, hopeful, or just really sad? I don't know, no matter what, I give it 10 stars. The Aftermath, 4/8. Aired November 7th, 1977. Jump ahead to Season 4, Episode 8, The Aftermath, and Mary has found some work and made new friends. But oh no, there's way more to these two newcomers than meets the eye. That's because they're actually Frank and Jesse James, and Walnut Grove is their next target. And when their plan starts to unravel, Mary gets tangled in their web in a really terrifying way. The Aftermath is another one that brings a dose of high stakes to the series, and I know we were all on the edge of our seats when Mary got pulled in as a hostage. And we just couldn't catch a break, because the posse looking to catch them didn't care who got caught in the crossfire. It was a huge eye-opener. No doubt after this episode, even Walnut Grove isn't safe from dire trouble.
Broder says nobody leaves town. Well?
It feels wrong, but we learn to care and worry about the place and people who fill out our favorite fictional universe. And for that, I award this episode 9 stars, and maybe a new sheriff to keep things a bit tighter. I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away, Part 1, 4/21. Aired March 6th, 1978. This Season 4 finale was a two-parter, I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away. And the starter part of that episode pretty much fits the entire melancholy vibe. Just when Mary finds love, she loses her vision. I mean, she really loses it. She just wakes up one morning and nothing. It's hard for the family to see such a loved one like this, and it's really hard for Mary having her life transformed. Now she's getting sent off to blind school. Walnut Grove is in all sorts of trouble. No more crop sales, the bank takes a hit, everyone's wallets are empty. Things are as bad as they can get. Let's face it, I don't think I could watch this episode without getting a bit teary-eyed. Because Melissa Sue Anderson deserves all the awards for this performance. The girl nails it. And props to her for sticking it through. If I'm remembering right, Mary going blind was always going to be a thing because of the books, but Melissa worried about the wild plot lines that could hurt her character.
It's a fine day for the trip. It doesn't matter, Ma.
She even talked to Michael Landon about it, but she worked with what she was given, and boy did Melissa deliver. Feels like we should be taking notes because that is how it's done. This two-parter is one emotional gut punch after another. Definitely one of the most intense finales Little House has given us. And easily deserves 9 stars out of 10, and definitely requires a box of tissues. Harriets Happenings, 5/8. Aired October 30th, 1978. Oh boy, the Nelsons never miss a chance, do they? When Harriet Olsen's cousin Sterling Murdoch sets up the town's first newspaper, she becomes his star reporter. What could possibly go wrong?
The whole town is laughing over the fact that Charles Engles' young house guest, Albert No Name.
It takes about -2 seconds for Harriet to abuse her power and turn the paper into a rumor mill, just bursting with the latest nasty gossip. Harriet's Happenings is as delightful as it is frustrating. We romp through the world of small-town gossip, and Mrs. Olsen proves to be a natural news hound who never lets a little thing called the truth interfere with a good story. Laura and Albert try to win the day, but Harriet hits back harder. Too hard, actually. You do not want to get on Pa's bad side. But when Charles sets things right, he gives the town one hell of a scolding for reading that pile of lies. He's not mad, just disappointed.
And by the same token, I think you'll agree with me that not being able to read English doesn't make Mr. and Mrs. Schiller illiterate either.
This episode has always been one of my favorites because it puts Harriet in the spotlight at her meddling best. And Harriet kinda always reminded me of my wild Aunt Mary. Plus, news travels fast in a town like Walnut Grove, and as mad as I get for our heroes, it's interesting to watch such a close-knit community react to stuff like that. I can only imagine the kind of damage she could do if she had a blog, or a hit YouTube channel like Do You Remember? I do also kinda wanna see what that would look like. Hey, I may subscribe. But for now, I can only imagine and give this episode 7 stars and 1 big retraction from Harriet, hopefully. The Craftsman, 5/15. Aired January 8th, 1979. Another rough wake-up call for us fans in Season 5, Episode 15, The Craftsman. Albert takes up work for a Jewish craftsman who deals with a lot of hate from people around him. It's hard to see, but it's important to show that even Walnut Grove has rotten apples.
Boy, I sure could have used that when I was carving.
You work with wood?
But why this episode made this list is because it's important for us to see Albert stick by Isaac through and through. This was a great episode for Albert, seeing his good heart shine through. And when he keeps up Isaac's tree planting tradition, that just feels good for the soul, you know?
Trees for our livelihood.
I think that's one of the best resolutions we've seen in the entire series. It stays bittersweet, but man, what a way to honor his mentor. The Craftsman is a powerful episode that tackles big themes with grace, and an important reminder of the impact one person can have on another's life. 9 stars from me. The Faith Healer, 610. Aired November 19th, 1979. Meet Jacob Danforth, a preacher making his way into Walnut Grove armed with his faith and a whole lot of charisma and persuasive vocab.
I wish you didn't have to rush off like this, Reverend Danforth.
Reverend Alden finds his own faith in jeopardy, along with his job, when the townsfolk are ready to replace him with Danforth. But this holy man might just be a snake oil salesman. Who knows? Reverend Danforth is such a good villain, one of the best Little House has ever given us. He's not a mustache-twirling killer or thief or even a playground bully, but he abuses people's faith and stomps all over the precious sense of trust that communities like Walnut Grove thrive on.
You lacked the faith to be healed. I had to give you that faith. That's why I used these people.
His manipulative dishonesty makes him a whole other kind of evil, and for such a usually wholesome program, I gotta say his brand of villainy was pretty refreshing. I give Danforth 0 stars as a healer, but this episode 9 stars for a new baddie we can love to hate, plus some good justice to tie it all together. Whatever happened to the class of 56, 615? Aired January 14th, 1980. There's a farming convention afoot in Milwaukee, and who better to represent Hero Township than Pa? Caroline also gets an invite to her 25th class reunion nearby, so it's a couple's road trip to Milwaukee and down memory lane.
To the 25th reunion party of the class of 1856.
This one's, in a word, bittersweet. We know too well that revisiting the past can be something of a double-edged sword. It's exciting, it's comforting, but it can turn sour fast. Alliances have changed, some are doing great while others have nothing but broken families. It's rough out there, and Ma and Pa Engles go through pretty much every feeling you can. Plus, this is actually something a lot of us can relate to. Class reunion, a phone call to an old pal, a chance meeting on the street. It'll often comes with heavy emotions. This is one of the series' most unique episodes because Mr. and Mrs. Engles get away from Walnut Grove and become fish out of water, having to deal with people they aren't close to and who maybe want to get a little too close. But we can count on them to remind us what really matters, and for that, I give this episode 7.5 stars. Laura Ingalls Wilder, 7-1. Aired September 22nd, 1980. Love is in the air for Laura and Almanzo, our lovebirds planning their wedding. They've got land set aside, nothing can go wrong. Except for a rough payment deadline, a crooked landowner sabotaging Almanzo's big plans, Laura's own plans to become a teacher dashed by Almanzo.
I've got a job.
What?
I've got a teaching job.
Can you say the honeymoon's over if it didn't start? Oh, and Nellie might just become a mom. And that is actually just a trimmed-down summary. This episode really threw a lot at Walnut Grove, especially our heroes. But what's most exciting is Laura and Almanzo's chemistry. They hit the rough patch, but the chemistry is impossible to look away from, even if it's not all lovey-dovey. And you know, that's good to see too. And so, seeing Laura finally marry Almanzo, I do give this episode 7 stars for showing the messier part of chasing that happily ever after. The Reincarnation of Nellie, 8-1. Aired October 5th, 1981. By the time Season 8 opens up with the reincarnation of Nellie,
I was wrong, Harriet. There is another child Exactly like Nellie.
A lot of our favorites got shuffled around on the map, and pretty dramatically too. Who else had Engles and Olsons in the Big Apple on their bingo card? I sure didn't at the time, but man did I wonder. Because in their absence, family members are feeling hurt. Especially Harriet, who adopts a girl named Nancy because she misses Nellie. And a very nostalgic Harriet very quickly learns that Nancy is as nasty as the rest of them. Which means Nancy is everyone else's problem to deal with too. Just when you thought it was over, she's back.
What kind of man are you?
Please, I'm trying to catch a little girl.
Nancy wastes no time becoming the terror of the town. I mean, everybody's problem really. But Laura's on the case, and on top of stopping one of the most dangerous pranks in history. I don't even think you can call it a prank at that point. It's closer to attempted murder. But Laura also figures out that this Nellie incarnate is a fake. One good life lesson from Laura and the school children does the trick, restoring a bit of peace to Walnut Grove. By this point, you've probably noticed fewer and fewer episodes are coming from the later seasons. I tried to spread this out, cause there are definitely a few gems in the show's final years. But by this point, I'm not sure it was quite feeling like the Little House of old. But this one did feel downright nostalgic, especially seeing the second coming of Nasty Nellie, who definitely cooled off in later years in a pretty satisfying arc. But again, just another change from what we knew. I give this episode 7 stars for being a generally good time and giving us another taste of good old-fashioned nastiness. Home Again, 9/16, 17. Aired February 7th, 1983. Finally, to wrap it all up, Home Again from Season 9, Episode 16. We catch up with Charles and Albert returning to Walnut Grove after Albert fell in with the wrong crowd. But the damage is already done, and Albert's dealing with drug addiction.
My friends are here. I like it here.
Albert, what you want and what's going to be are two entirely different things.
And it's making him violent. That's way too far for Charles, and he goes to some extreme lengths to get Albert off drugs. In one of Little House's more standout, very special episodes, Matthew Labrador brings his acting to an entirely different level, playing an addict on a messy, hopeful, heartbreaking path to freedom. Let's face it, this issue affects so many families, too many families. And yeah, the episode might be a tough but powerful watch, but it is so well done. Home Again is full of raw emotional content that will make even the toughest viewers shed tears, and it takes an unflinching look at the power of redemption and a family's love. It also gets more heartbreaking after you watch it now knowing the post-show films, since Albert was all set to get his medical degree, but fate had much darker plans in store. It's kind of ambiguous if he did die before living out his dreams. I think the idea is, yeah, he did. But the hopeless romantic in me likes to imagine that he got cured, or found his own cure, or I don't know, something. Look, we all spent like a decade with these people, watching these people after school. So yeah, I'll admit I want the best for him. Hell, this show even got me to root for Nellie sometimes. But this real heart-wrencher of an episode gets a solid 9 stars from me, and a round of applause for a job, a show well done. Those were the 15 most unforgettable Little House on the Prairie episodes. But those were our thoughts, so now we really need to hear from you. How did we do? Which of these episodes was your favorite? Did I leave out any real gems of episodes? I'm sure I did. We'll get in the comment section and tell me which. Your feedback helps us improve our channel, and we always love hearing ideas for future videos, so give us any suggestions you might have. If you enjoyed our Best of Little House episode, please give it a thumbs up, it helps the video circulate. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a memory. But most importantly, from my entire team at Do You Remember, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful little day.